All right, so listen, we're live. That was interesting, man, doing all that, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like you're still in Florida. You didn't make it to Vegas?
I'm going to Vegas the 12th to the 15th for another roulette tournament. So I'm
The
actually home.
12th?
I'm actually leaving. My daughter's getting married on Friday. My actually daughter number 2, who's not really my daughter, but is like my daughter. Yeah.
This Friday?
Yeah. Actually, the rehearsal is Friday, and then the wedding is on Saturday.
Yeah.
Of course, the reception starts right at the end of the Michigan-Illinois game. Of course. What is it with girls and not getting married during football season? I mean, what is up with that?
Well, that's the beautiful thing. Tell me you got Fubo on your phone. Put Fubo on that thing.
I got the Fox Sports app. That's more important. So
I'll be for you.
I'll be headbutting, earbutting. Yeah, I'll be that guy.
What time is that kickoff?
It's a noon kickoff, but it should, the wedding starts at 3:30 on the dot. I hope, and right. So we'll see.
Is this taking place in Florida, Michigan? Where?
No, it's in Michigan. So we're flying up on Friday to Michigan, spending the entire week there. We're doing Thanksgiving there with my daughter, and it should be fun.
Very good, man. Well, awesome, man. Well, yeah, it should be a good time for you. Well, congratulations on that. So, how old is she?
Stacy is 27.
Getting married.
Yeah.
Wow. And you're going to Michigan. Have you been in Michigan for a winter in a while?
It's been a while. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while. Probably been 10 or 15 years. So, yeah.
What part of Michigan? Like, how close is this going to be to like Michigan Stadium in that general vicinity, or are you a ways away?
We'll be in Detroit, which is 30 minutes from Ann Arbor. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, it's a big game. I mean, one of the questions I had for you is, what did we learn this weekend? What did you learn this weekend about college football?
Oh, well, I always learn something every week, right? And just kind of looking ahead to this, looking back on this last week, I would say I thought Illinois was a better football team than they are. I learned that. I learned that I would, if you'd asked me this 2 weeks ago, I said this would never happen. But I think that Iowa might win the Big Ten West.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead and finish, because that brings up a huge point. But go ahead and finish.
Oh yeah, and I just don't think Alabama's a great football team this year. I saw that.
So, what are you in denial right now that the Big Ten is the worst of the 5 power conferences?
Oh yeah, of course.
You think they're not the you don't think that?
Did you watch? Did you stay up and watch the UCLA Arizona game?
I did.
Yeah. Why?
Madness after dark. Yeah, I did. So the team that you just mentioned, Iowa, they had 130 yards of offense. They are the most inept offensive team I've ever seen in a Power 5 team. I've never seen an offense this bad. Now, on the flip side, I think they've got a pretty good defense. I've said that all year. I said when Michigan beat them, that's when I said, okay, I respect Michigan's offense because I respect Iowa's defense. However, what we saw this past weekend, I thought in the Big Ten, to me, said, okay, they are by far the worst conference of the Power 5. My take this weekend was very simple. It's Georgia, 1A, 1B is Tennessee, and then there's everybody else. I think, and I think that there are major. I think there's major separation there. Major separation.
There's major separation between Georgia and Tennessee. Are you joking? Did you watch that game?
Georgia and Tennessee?
Yeah, the Georgia-Tennessee game. Did you not watch that game?
A week and a half ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you not see the score of that game?
Yeah.
It was a blowout.
You see what Tennessee came right back and just mopped up Missouri.
No, that's denial. There's denial. That's denial 101.
You have to realize that Michigan hasn't beaten a good team all year. They haven't beaten a good team.
You know what? It's spoken like a Pac-12 guy. Is it Pac-12 now, or what is it? Pac-6, whatever it is, right? All you guys talk about is offense. That's why I thought Rich Rodriguez would be a great fit for the Pac, 8 or 10 or whatever it is. Because
he pretty much did the same thing at U of A that he did up at Michigan.
Yeah, they played no defense. How'd that work out for him? How is that working out for the?
To be honest with you, he might be out deer hunting right now. I don't know. I don't know
right.
where he.
That's where he belongs, right? He belongs. He should be an offensive coordinator, in the Pac.
Yeah.
So,
but
I don't know.
The thing is this. Listen, you can't possibly tell me that you think Michigan and Ohio State are better. Do you really think that Clemson wouldn't beat either one of those teams?
Are you kidding me? Are you just trying to rankle me? Is that a joke? I mean, Clemson only got by Syracuse.
Let me tell you something.
Come on.
Let me tell you this.
Good Lord.
You're crazy.
I'll tell you what.
Clemson and FSU are both better than Michigan and
either
Michigan and Ohio State.
or Ohio State were in the ACC, they'd both be going to the playoff, right?
Not a chance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
look at
who's going to beat them?
I just named the two teams that would easily beat them. FSU and Clemson.
Oh,
FSU and Clemson would both beat Ohio State or Michigan.
You're delusional.
They lined up and played, and they beat them.
Yeah.
They're playing better than them. All you got to do is watch the games.
Yeah, I'm not even sure Clemson would score on Michigan. And second of all, Ohio State.
Wow,
if they let Syracuse pass the ball over them, what's Ohio State going to do?
Do you have that hat on for a reason? Did you have some kind of brain operation that we can't tell?
Wow.
You are out of control right now with that statement. That's just crazy talk.
Yeah, okay. Clemson was an imposter, and they were shown as an imposter by a very mediocre Notre Dame team. So there you go.
Well, first of all, Notre Dame, when they started the season, was missing 4 to 5 offensive linemen and missing 2 wide receivers. They have since gotten healthy. They are a better team now than they were at the beginning of the season. So what I will say is
Michigan's been down 3 offensive linemen for 2 weeks. Nobody talks about it. You know why?
Michigan's playing against JV teams. Michigan is playing against JV football teams. That's what they're playing against. They played Colorado State, Hawaii, and I don't know the third team, but they're all bottom 5 teams.
It was UConn who just recently beat BC.
Bottom 5 team.
Yeah, right.
Bottom 5 team.
Yeah, another bottom feeder. Wow.
Do you really think that Michigan and Ohio State have have just the slightest chance, like a 2% chance of beating Georgia? Would you give them at least 2% to beat Georgia?
Well, yeah, 2%, absolutely. Here's the thing: I think Georgia is the best team.
Yeah.
But I think it's Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan in some order. I'm not sure which yet. And then I think TCU is the right choice for number 4. I don't think any of the other teams really even.
I'll say this:
here's TCU, the only way Tennessee gets in the playoff is if they run the table, and
they're going to win their next 2 games. They're going to win their last 2 games.
Well, there's no doubt they got to win the SEC championship game too, which
they won't be in it. They're not going to be in the SEC championship.
You just answered the question, right?
If Tennessee wins out, they're going as a they won't even make the championship game. They're going to the playoffs.
No, they're
100%.
Not.
They're going to the playoffs.
No, they're not. They won't make it. Yeah, if they're a one-loss team.
Do you realize right now there is a chance, and I think it's actually a good chance that a Big Ten team won't be in the playoffs. I think there's a good chance that will happen.
There's no chance in hell. How do you figure? Michigan, Ohio State would both have to lose.
Exactly.
And who's going to beat them?
Whoever comes out of that other division. Listen, I've seen Ohio State. That quarterback gets very flustered for Ohio State, and definitely the quarterback from Michigan gets flustered. So Pac-12, if USC loses to Notre Dame or the championship game, Pac-12 won't have a team in it. If TCU loses, they might not have a team in it. We could see Clemson and then 3 SEC teams.
So you think the Ohio State quarterback gets rattled and the Michigan quarterback definitely gets rattled? Well, the Michigan quarterback happens to be 12th in the nation in passing efficiency.
Yeah, I saw him throw 2 balls.
And
I saw him throw 2 balls to the other team.
They win the Heisman Trophy. So yeah, I can see where you'd be making the thing.
Dude, I'm not, listen, I was only kidding with you about your hat.
It's
but
like
there's
being
something
in a
going on with
sword
your
fight
head
of
today.
wits with an unarmed man. I mean, come on. This is just not. I mean, I thought we were going to have a conversation about something rational, but whether Michigan or Ohio State are in the top three, I just don't even get that. Yeah. Oh, here we go. He's even got a heading for it. So you were planning this. Okay, here we go.
Absolutely. I was ready for this one. Listen, there's some things that'll get ironed out this weekend. I want to see what they do against Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown will give them a better game than people think.
I don't think Chase Brown's going to play this weekend.
Why? Is he injured?
Because I think he's injured. Yeah.
Oh, then they'll mop him then. So if he doesn't play, who does that put in line to win the West? Wisconsin?
So that's a good question. So that's what I was doing before we came on air. Was I was kind of going through the scenario of who comes out of the West, and as I said at the beginning of the show, I think Iowa could actually come out of the West because they play Minnesota this weekend, and one of the three teams there's four teams that can win the West.
Can Minnesota still win it with Ibrahim?
Minnesota, Purdue, or Illinois. Well, Illinois is going to play Michigan this weekend. I think they're going to lose. Okay, let's just assume that for a second, right?
Yep.
Iowa and Minnesota play each other. The winner of that game will be a favorite to get to the final two in that division. And then there's Purdue, and Purdue is probably they're going to be favored to win their last two games. To me, the way I look at it, I think, and Iowa owns a tiebreaker. So if it comes down to Iowa or Purdue, so
what happens if it comes down to Minnesota or Purdue?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the tiebreaker in that scenario.
So listen, if Minnesota's getting healthy, if they get healthy with Ibrahim, that would be a tough matchup for definitely a tough matchup for Ohio State because I don't think they could stop Ibrahim from running the football. I think that would be a very interesting game because their run defense is pretty good, but their pass defense this year isn't that good. So against Michigan, that could be a very interesting game to see if Michigan's quarterback could move the ball passing. If Minnesota's healthy, I would take Minnesota to beat Ohio State in a game if Ibrahim's healthy because I think it's a bad matchup for him. I think it's a good game against Michigan. That Ibrahim, he's going to be the top running back.
Are you talking against the spread or straight up?
Straight up.
Can I have that action from you? I want that action. Okay, I want all the money you got on that action. All right.
Listen,
and I don't even care. You can name the price, whatever you want to put down. I want you to know I will take that bet.
You're on. You're on because listen.
Look,
if Ibrahim's healthy, they're a better team than Ohio State. I'm telling you right now that there's no way Ohio State stops Ibrahim from getting 150, 160 yards rushing. No way.
Okay, the entire state of Ohio just left the site. Here's the thing. It's going to come down. The conference championship is going to be won by the East, no matter who wins it, whether it's Michigan or Ohio State. That there's no doubt there. The only question is, who's the fourth team into the college football playoff? Who do you think it is?
Well, I have different teams. I still think this to me is the answer to that question. Because right now, Jaden Daniels is playing phenomenal football for LSU. He's playing out of his mind, right? He's carrying that team. This is the same guy that I saw at ASU for 4 years. So now all of a sudden, I have a different feeling about LSU because what he's done is he's got the receiver Bude, whatever his name is, that receiver is back interested in playing football again and out there playing. So they look like a different team. I don't think anybody can beat Georgia. But if somehow some miraculous thing happens and they beat Georgia, I think you're going to see LSU, Georgia, and Tennessee all going to the playoff. Because to me, Georgia and Tennessee, by far, again, you have Georgia that's 1A, then 1B is Tennessee. I think there's levels between that and the third team. And then it's just a scramble for the 3 and 4. And I think it comes down to, does USC beat Notre Dame and win the Pac-12 championship? Does TCU stumble someplace? What happens between Ohio State, Michigan winner in the Big Ten championship? There's your questions. Because Clemson, nobody's paying attention right now to North Carolina. Clemson can pick up a good win against North Carolina. So if Notre Dame beats USC,
is that the North Carolina team that almost lost to Appalachian State? Is that the one?
It's the North Carolina team that's going to have a Heisman candidate sitting up on the stage in New York in 2 weeks. That's the North Carolina team. That's who it is. Their quarterback is going to be a Heisman finalist. Their quarterback's got the best stats of anybody this year, and he's a redshirt freshman.
They throw on every down. I mean, come on.
Are you saying that's better for a quarterback or worse for a quarterback? The fact that he has to carry his team should say something. You can't knock him for it.
When you talk about in terms of number of yards and touchdowns, if you throw in every down, you're going to have more than a team that runs.
He has to carry his team. He's got no running attack. He's carrying the team.
Well, then, if they've got no running attack, why are they a big opponent for Clemson? Here's the thing: is that there's no ace. Let's just say it like it is. There's no ACC team that's going to make the playoff. There's no Pac-12 team.
You can't say that right now. TCU could lose. USC could lose. You can't say that.
Yeah.
If TCU loses and USC loses, who are you going to take?
Well, in that case, then I'd take Tennessee.
So, okay. So you don't think Tennessee can get in by winning out? Their only loss is at.
I don't think they can get in by winning out unless they get some help. Yeah, if they get some help, they could end up as the fourth team.
You know that they beat the number 7 team by 30 points at the number 17's place. They beat LSU. They mopped LSU. They beat Alabama. They've beaten they may have beaten Ole Miss. I don't remember if they beat Ole Miss. I don't think they did. But they're beating decent teams. They've got a better schedule than Michigan. It's better schedule than Michigan and Ohio State.
Yeah.
When you look at out of conference games to start the season, it's not even close. Yeah. Listen, I get what you're saying. You're listen, the Big Ten needs you up there fighting for them because you will fight for the Big Ten. There's no doubt about that. You need to be at that meeting. I got that. I just don't see. I see the Big Ten as the worst of the Power Five, but I've said it all year. And the minute that Ibrahim got hurt, I thought that they became the worst conference of the Power Five. With a healthy Ibrahim, Minnesota is a really good team. Yeah, because they've got a good decent defense. If you were to say to me that the Big Ten is down this year, I would agree with you. I don't think they're up to their usual. I don't think the middle teams are where they usually are. Right? They always have a couple bottom feeders. Like SEC's got bottom feeders too, right? You got Auburn, you got Vanderbilt, you got right? But and in Michigan and in the Big Ten's case, they've got Northwestern. They're a bottom feeder. They've got listen, Iowa's a bottom feeder. When you have the worst offense in the history of Power 5 football, you're a bottom feeder. You have no business in. They scored 27 points with 130 yards of offense. Who did they play? Who did they play last weekend? Rutgers? Was it Rutgers?
I forget who Iowa played. No, they didn't play Rutgers, but I forget who they played.
Was it at least the team's varsity team?
No, I think they beat Wisconsin. Did they beat Wisconsin? Yeah, they beat Wisconsin. Yeah, you and I talked about that game. You were all over Wisconsin, I remember. Once again, bad mouth in Iowa. And I told you I would cover it. You for like the third time this season. I said I was going to cover that game.
Am I wrong? Rickshaw, am I wrong?
You are wrong.
I'm wrong?
Yeah,
how am I wrong? They're the worst offense in the history of Power 5 football. How am I wrong?
There's more than one way to skin a cat, Tom. I mean, they don't have to win every game by throwing the ball over the field. They play defense. They play field position.
Okay.
Different teams have different styles. I mean, if you look at Michigan and Ohio State, for example, they couldn't be more opposite about how they approach offense. Right?
All right. Let's take that same statement and let's put that on TCU. For up until this past weekend, everything was about TCU's offense. They couldn't play defense. This weekend, they shut down one of the top running backs in the nation, a very highly skilled offense. They shut them down. Where do you see TCU? Why do you think Ohio State or Michigan has a better resume than TCU?
I don't think it's a better resume. I think it's style points. I think they have better style points than TCU. Michigan, you can't play who's put in front of you. And nobody knew that, that some of the teams that were on Michigan's schedule in conference play were going to, be as down as they were. And I will admit they've beaten some down teams, but they've done it easily. Yeah. Right. And so I think it's the style points. I think if you look at TCU, how many escapes do they have this year? 3, 4? Yeah. Where they very well could have lost those games. Some things happened at the end of the game that worked out in their favor. And I give them credit for that, but it doesn't bode well for style points. So, yeah, if you ask me who played a tougher schedule, TCU or Michigan or Ohio State, I'd say TCU, and I'd agree with you. But they're not winning like a top 4 team.
They've beaten ranked teams on the road. And it's been their quarterback. First of all, they have a receiver that's a really good receiver, and they've got a really strong quarterback.
Ranked? I didn't think Texas was still ranked. Are they? I mean, how many?
They've got 4 losses now. I think they've got 4 losses.
I thought they had more than that. Oh,
I think they were 6-3 going in. They might be 6-4 right now.
Yeah, they were 6 and. Well, it says 6-4. I don't know if that's before or after the game, but
I think there's. Yeah, I think they're 6-4 right now. Listen, TCU. If you haven't seen Max Duggan play this year, he's a fun guy to watch.
Yeah,
he literally is. He's a dual threat, but he's a pocket passer that can scramble. He's not a running quarterback. He's a pocket passer that can run. That's the difference.
I noticed there's a kind of a common denominator with all the top teams. Like I think Stetson Bennett for Georgia is 25 years old. Max Duggan's 24 years old. C.J. Stroud is 22 or 23 years old. Then you got J.J. McCarthy, for example, for Michigan, is only 19. So I've seen that some of these mature quarterbacks are putting up some good numbers. And I've watched Max Duggan play. I think he's a good quarterback. I'm
not just came locked and loaded with that one. That was a good stat, my man. That was locked and loaded right there.
You know what? Sometimes it just pays to know what you're talking about. What can I say?
Hey, that was good.
Yeah, it's tough. It's going to be tough for TCU that when they face a team with a great defense and a team that can really put it on them offensively. I don't know that they're going to be able to hold up. I think if they go into the playoff, they'll probably play Georgia first, and that's going to be a rout. That's my take on it. We'll see.
Well, I
actually hope TCU wins out, though. I do. I'm rooting for TCU.
Listen, I think the most important thing for every school is to get either 2 or 3. If you get number 4, you're losing a lot of money because you're not making that next level game because you're not beating Georgia. Who's ever number 4 is not beating Georgia. So you're in a race right now to get to that 3 spot just for money.
This is the commentary of every upset that's happened since the beginning of time. Every unbeatable team gets beaten.
Here's another.
I don't even think Georgia's as good a team as they were last year.
I think UNC is very important to this conversation. I know that you're not buying into them, but right now they're going to win their division in the ACC. And if they win out, which I think they got NC State, maybe they might have one other team.
Oh,
if they win,
I watched this game this weekend, the Wake Forest North Carolina game. I'd already forgotten about it, but I watched that game, and I remember watching and thinking to myself, these teams don't play a lick. Not even a shred of defense.
Well, right? What are your thoughts? Okay.
Oh my Lord. Yeah, Tennessee. I'm surprised UNC's 9-1. That actually surprises me. I mean,
if there's a one-loss Clemson team that wins the ACC, that beat Florida State, that beat everybody else they put in front of them except for Notre Dame, they beat North Carolina, who's going to be probably a top 12, maybe top 10 team when they play. You're telling me that doesn't get them in? A one-loss Clemson team doesn't get them into the playoffs?
Let me tell you this, Tom. Here's what the pollsters think of North Carolina. They're 9-1, and they're ranked 15th.
Yeah.
What's that tell you?
They started unranked, and they had a freshman quarterback.
They're 9-1 in a Power 5 conference, and they're ranked 15th. What does that tell you?
Well, yeah, but they're the same people that think Michigan and Ohio State are good.
Yeah.
I mean, listen,
Michigan and Ohio State are not escaping Appalachian State. And
I see Michigan as one-dimensional on offense. One-dimensional. All you have to do is pack the line of scrimmage. That quarterback is going to turn the ball over. That quarterback is going to cause heartache.
Every team Michigan's played this season has said, all we got to do is stack the box. Stack the box. That's all we got to do is stack the box. So, and funny, I think they're averaging, 315 on the ground, right? Yeah, and they haven't had to. You don't throw the ball if you don't have to. Right? Our quarterback's in 70% of his throws. You think that's an accident?
They haven't.
I mean, come on.
Listen, I'll give them credit for what they did against Iowa. But again, they did it in the second half when Iowa's offense had 5 yards of offense and the defense was on the field for 45 minutes. But if they go up, God, I could see them getting smoked. I could. If Minnesota's healthy, if Ibrahim's healthy, I'll go back to Ibrahim. You better worry about him.
Right, Minnesota. The spread in that game is going to be like 3 touchdowns. Are you joking?
I'll be all over
Vegas
Minnesota.
is going to have them as a
I will be all over Minnesota. If that's 3 touchdown line, forget about it. I'll be. Yeah, I'm taking a jet. I'm taking a flight out to Iowa
all over for you, pal.
All right.
Hey, so what do you this week in the Iowa Minnesota game?
So all right. You've eliminated ACC. Do you think the Pac-12 champion gets in with one loss? A one-loss Pac-12 champion? Do you think they get in?
They need help.
It would be USC. So the only team left that has one loss would be USC. It would
have to be USC, and it would have to be. I mean, I watched that Oregon game this weekend. That was a tough game for them. But again, without winning that game, they were out. And so now there's USC left. Does USC and Oregon still play? I don't remember.
USC is going to play. No, UCLA next weekend.
Okay.
They play UCLA next weekend. Oregon has to play. No.
Utah?
Or Utah. Oregon's playing Utah. USC's playing UCLA. And then the winner, those 2 winners will probably play each other in the championship game. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I think if USC and Oregon face off, I'd be worried about USC in that game. So, I think they need to take care of their business, USC, and they need for TCU to lose. That's the only way they get in.
What game are you watching this weekend that you think could affect everything?
That's a good question. It's Monday. I haven't really gotten that far yet, but let me get back to you on that one because
Utah's playing at Oregon.
Iowa, Minnesota obviously is a big game for the West in the Big Ten. I'll be watching that game if I can. The Illinois Michigan game is a big game for Michigan. That's actually a big game for both teams. But I don't think only way the Illinois can win the West is to beat Michigan this weekend. I don't think.
What happens? Let me ask you this: what happens if Illinois beats Michigan this weekend, and then Michigan beats Ohio State, and Michigan wins the Big Ten with 1 loss? Are they in?
I think they need help in that scenario. So you got to see how the other teams fare. If they're a 1-loss team, let's say that Tennessee has 2 losses. Let's say that happens. Probably not, but they'd get in. If USC had 2 losses, I think Michigan would probably still get in as Big Ten champion. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it would be hard to say. If TCU loses, I mean, I don't remember. Does that conference have a championship?
Yeah, they have a Big 12 championship game. They got away from it for like 3 or 4 years. They brought it back because they kept getting not invited for not playing in it, for not having a Big 12 championship game champion. They thought they were losing invitations to the playoffs, so they brought it back this year. There's a Big 12 championship game. But who's going to be in it? I mean, everybody, like Oklahoma's got a 49-0 loss. Texas has got 4 losses. Kansas State's got 3 or 4 losses now, right?
Yeah.
So it just seems like the teams that we
of all those teams named, if I was wanting TCU to lose, I would rather see them play Kansas State, I think. So I think Kansas State's got a pretty decent team.
Yeah, and they play better with their backup quarterback. So Adrian Martinez, the team's been better with their backup quarterback than with Adrian Martinez. That's another interesting thing. Yeah. So this weekend's games. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, this weekend, there's only one game that I'm seeing that matters this weekend. That's USC UCLA, because it's at UCLA. I don't expect any other games to really change the trajectory of what's going on towards the playoffs, except for that game could. Because I expect Michigan to win. I don't expect an upset anywhere else that would change the trajectory for the playoffs. But that is the game. USC has to make it past that game, then beat Notre Dame. So USC would beat the number 12 team at the number 12, then beat Notre Dame, then win a championship game in the Pac-12. I think they're in. I think that puts them in with one loss no matter what. I don't think they're not invited if they accomplish what I just put out there. So I think this is the one game that you got to watch. It's a late kickoff. As far as where I am, I mean, Florida State's playing Louisiana Monroe or something like that. People be eating shrimp before the game, and then it's going to be like 50-0 at halftime. So I don't know what to expect there. But the funny thing is, FSU has now got a win this year over the SEC West champion. The team that won, an SEC team that's going to be in the championship game, FSU beat them. Think about that.
Who is that?
LSU.
Oh, LSU. Okay.
FSU beat them to start the season.
Yeah.
And they're in the SEC. They're going to be in the SEC championship game. So I think basically that says a lot for Norvell. Or ASU, Sun Devils behind me. Norvell, that guy that came out here and resurrected the team.
I wonder what the line will be in that LSU Georgia game. I'm thinking is that a 2 or 3 touchdown spread, do you think?
No, I'd be hard pressed to see it more than 11 or 12, maybe 11, maybe 12, 11 or 12. Yeah, it's that line will be 11 or 12. Listen, that game, if Jaden Daniels keeps playing the way he's playing, he could give them trouble. Now they can't hang with them over 60 minutes, but they can definitely keep that within 17 points. A late score, get it down to 10. That could be, if that's an 11 or 12 point line, I might look at taking LSU for a backdoor cover on that, because he's playing really good football. He really is.
I watched the LSU Auburn or Arkansas game, 13-10 win, at home.
In Arkansas.
At Arkansas, I meant. Yes, at Arkansas, right. So, yeah.
Well, didn't you have them losing that game because of the hangover effect?
I did. I took Arkansas plus the 3 points, and I pushed. So, yeah.
Well, listen.
But yeah, you're right. I thought Arkansas might win that game outright. I did think that.
Yeah, I think it's just listen, I was one of the guys, and I'm still one of the guys that doesn't believe Kelly's a really good coach. Whatever he's done to turn the team around this year, you got to give him credit for. On the flip side of that, if you're Texas A&M right now, you are in misery. You have to figure out, are we buying this guy out for $85 million, or are we stuck for the next 5 years? Can you believe that? What do you do?
What happens, though, when you buy players? I mean, you get guys, you give them all that money. They're not 18 years old. Right now, they think they're superstars. And they don't have to do the work. And,
they all quit.
You tell them that when they come there, they're going to be automatic starters. When you do stuff like that, you build a bad culture. And that's what they've got at Texas A&M now. They got a bad culture. We'll see.
Four of that number one recruiting class, 4 of them already transferred.
Yep. Yeah, right. You know why? Because the promises weren't filled, and the promises were unrealistic. So I mean, you got 18-year-old kids, and you got an entourage of ridiculous adults behind those 18-year-old kids, right? Telling them that that they're all this and all that when they haven't done crap yet. There's no meritocracy there. That's all artificial, and that will never be a good plan for a quality football team. That's where the NIL and paying players really kind of falls down. It kind of lets the kids down, I think. And I don't want to get on a soapbox about this, but Texas A&M is the perfect example of why NIL is dangerous.
Well, listen, again, they're still trying to figure all that stuff out. Nobody's figured out the NIL yet. Nobody has. It's a free for all right now. And we actually had a conversation about it the other day, and I think it's only a matter of time before Nick Saban figures out the system and he's got Alabama back on top. Because NIL they're investors. They're investing in either their school or to get a return for their business by having these players represent them. If you're one of these NIL sponsors, you don't want to invest in a team run by Jimbo Fisher right now because you don't know what you're going to get. As far as a CEO goes, he's not the guy you want leading your organization that you're going to invest in because you're seeing the product. Now, they've got a lot more money out there in that area than they have in Alabama. But it's only a matter of time. If you're these guys in Alabama and you want to get involved in NIL, or you're on the fence, you're going to invest it in a team run by Nick Saban before you invest it in a team run by Jimbo Fisher. Right. So I just think it's only a matter of time before Nick Saban gets that figured out. Same thing with Dabo Swinney. Same thing with Kirby Smart. Listen, they're the kings for a reason. They've built these programs for a reason. But I honestly believe in the next year or two that Nick Saban's going to be right back to having the top team in college football, ready for the playoffs. No losses, one loss is going to be going perennial back in until he retires. Looking at the points this week inside of sport hitters, man, there's a lot of lopsidedness. It's you have to find that value. The one that's interesting to me is the game I just touched on, which is USC, because USC is going in as a slight favorite on the road against UCLA. Yeah. That's a dangerous number, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd be on the other side of that one in sport hitters.
That's a dangerous number. Speaking of sport hitters, I got clipped last night in the NFL. Did you see that? I
saw you were leading, but by the way, congratulations on putting up a perfect 5 for 5 in our Mountaineer NFL Challenge. That was pretty freaking
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you. I did it in the sport hitters office pool too and still lost. You know why?
Why?
Washington. The guy came from way behind with Washington last night and beat me. He went 3-2, and two of his 3 wins were like Washington and the Colts. He had Washington and the Colts. That's what I lost to. Yeah. Silent assassin came and got me. But yeah, this weekend, listen, to be honest with you, this weekend is all about getting ready for next weekend. That's what it is. Because next weekend we got Thanksgiving, we got all the matchups, the rivalries. So this weekend, just don't lose all your money in the sports book, because next weekend's the weekend of all weekends for college football and in sport hitters. So it's going to be a good weekend, and you're going to have a good weekend out at your daughter's wedding. Do you actually have cold weather clothes still?
I do. I actually have them. They're out in the garage. I got to go get them out.
Are you like my grandfather that has his clothes from like the 70s and the 80s?
Well, yeah, there aren't too many of my clothes from the 70s that still fit me. But yeah, I do have some things from the 70s still laying around, though, I'm sure. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, listen, all right. Well, go. Listen, I hope Michigan has a good weekend. I don't want to dampen your Thanksgiving ahead of time. So I hope they do well this weekend. Hope you have a good weekend at your at the wedding. And then we'll be ready to roll next week.
I got 3 words for you, Tom. Yeah. Run the football.
You're right about that. They need to run the football. Go
Run
USC, football. Go Pac-12. Bye.